Hi guys, so this is where you're going to turn on your subtitles for the video. And if you want to join my membership, you can get free access to all my PDFs. And I also like to show you just a few examples of what I sell in my merch shop. I appreciate your support, and back to the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be Mrs. Claus. We've already done Santa Claus. So we're going to be making Mrs. Claus today. Let's jump right into this. So this is Craft Smart Value, and it's peach, and that's what I'm going to use for the skin color. This is Bernat Black Sparkle, and that's what I'm going to use for the boots. That's the only thing that this is being used for, is the boots. The red I've chosen to use is a red heart, and I think it's called Cardinal Red. Yeah, Cardinal Red. So it calls for a 5.5. This Bernat Sparkle calls for a 5. This calls for a 5.5. The white for the apron and the hair, and the frills on the dress and sleeves and stuff. So that's, I think that's just a Craft Smart or Red Heart white. It doesn't matter what kind of white you get, just white. And the hook I'm going to use is a 4.5 because this is going to be built in amigurumi. So this video is going to be made into chapters. So the first chapter is obviously going to be making our arms and our legs. And that'll be about it for the chapter. That's probably going to be time consuming enough. I like to keep my chapters about an hour long, and I figured if you're making 2 arms and 2 legs, it's probably going to be about an hour. So the next chapter then will be when we start building her actual body. So this video is just going to be arms and legs. So we're going to start with the arms first. Even though it's not in keeping flow with the PDF, we're starting with the arms first because we can't fasten off our second leg because we start building the body from the 2 legs together. So we're going to build the arm first. We're going to build the thumb first, actually. Then we're going to build the arm, the hand and the arm. Then we'll get to the leg. So PDF users, you're going to have to scroll down till you get to the arm. So that starts with this peach color. And if you want to join my membership to get free PDFs, you just have to hit that join button and you're a member. That's it. Easy peasy. And you get access to all my PDFs for everything, just about everything I do. Tapestry, crochet, and C2C excluded because I use GraphGans that aren't mine. I don't design them. If I do design them, then I do share the PDF. So let's scroll down to arms here. Well, let's scroll down till you see peach color and the thumb. So that's what we're going to build first, is the thumb. So we're going to do a magic ring. If you struggle with the magic ring, then just do a chain 2 and put everything into the first stitch. You're going to put 5 single crochets in here. So once you pull that, chain 2, guys, it should look the same as this. So for the next 3 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 5 stitches. First one is always a doozy. So you can use a stitch marker if you're not sure where your stitches are. It might be a good idea. So that's my first round. I'm going to tighten my... This is thick enough yarn. There's no real point on making a knot because it should stay closed. So once I flip it around, I like to pull on that magic ring string again, just to tighten everything. And now I'm going to do 2 more rows. So I'm just going to count to 10 because 2 rows of 5 single crochets is 10. That's my 10. I'm going to stick my straggler down in there because that'll be about the only thing that I stuff it with is this. So that's my thumb. You can fasten off with a sewing tail because you're going to need to sew this to the hand when we get to that, and you're only going to use 2 stitches, so you don't need a great big sewing tail. Mine's probably too long. It always is. So the hand, we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. So your first round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around, giving you 12 stitches. I will learn one of these days to not tighten my magic ring so tight until I get into that first stitch. That's my 12 stitches. Sorry, I forgot to use my stitch marker. So pull your middle nice and tight. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's my 1 single crochet. The next stitch gets the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. This will bring it up to 18 stitches. For the next 3 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. This is where we sew the thumb on. So you're only going to use 2 stitches to sew this thumb on. And I generally go into the next stitch right next to my marker, so. So that's stitch number 2. I'm going to make a knot. So we're going to do a decrease, but you're not going to be able to get all the way around. You're only going to get 5 times around. You're going to have an extra stitch, which will be 1. That's number 1. And number 2 is going to be this shared sew space, just so that there's no gaps. And then onto the finger to do a decrease. You can do any kind of decrease here that you want to do. It does not really matter. So just repeat this all the way around, sharing those sew spots. Sorry, my stitch got really loose there. I don't know if I can get into this sew spot. I don't know, maybe I can. Well, I can't get into that sew spot, so I'm just going to pop over here. I don't want my stitch to be loose. So I have 15 stitches. The reason I was able to finish it entirely is because I couldn't get into that sew spot. But if you get into that sew spot, you should have 16 stitches altogether. And that's the number that I want you to have. I'm going to have to add a stitch to get the number that I should be on track with. So I'm not sure why that sew spot was so tight, but I should have been able to get into it. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. So I'm just going to add a stitch as I go. So that's my 16 stitches. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochet decrease. You're only going to get 2 times around, and you're going to have 4 extra stitches. You should have a count of 14 when you're done. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your decrease, whichever decrease you choose to use. So for those questioning that, you have invisible decreases that are just used in the front loops only. Then you have your regular decreases. So I will show you the invisible decrease. So front loop, pop around to the second front loop, then you yarn over and pull through and finish the stitch. That's an invisible decrease. So I've done it twice and I've got 4 stitches left. So I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 4 stitches to give me a total of 14 for my count. So the reason we don't stuff our thumb is because if we did, it would stick out even further. So this is your hand so far. This is where we're going to change to white. So back out of this last stitch that you just did. Not entirely. Make sure you have a couple of loops still on. We're just going to finish that stitch with white so that we can switch our colors. So if you followed my channel long enough, you know that I tie my white straggler to my color I'm using, keeping my hook in there so I know the tension to use for the knot, so that I can just cut off. I don't want to weave because my yarn's thick enough. But regardless, I don't like having one side thicker than the other by weaving in my color, so I just do that and cut it all off. So with my white, I want to do 4 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. for 14 stitches. So 4 rows of white, and then we change color again. I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. I'm on my last stitch and I haven't finished it because I'm going to finish it with my red. So before I start with my red, I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing in here. We're not decreasing or anything, but it is getting a little long. With our red, we're going to do 12 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. So we're not increasing anymore. This is the size that the arm is going to be. So you still have 14 stitches. So 1 single crochet in each stitch for the next 12 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. So before I stuff it, I don't move my marker every time I count. So before I stuff it, you have to fasten off on the side that you need your hand to be. So my hand that I've already made for the video, the thumb needs to point out. So the thumb is pointing away from the body, which means your straggler has to be on this side. So since I have this on this side, I know that it's this arm to sew to this side. But this guy, sorry, I'm off camera again. This guy, my straggler's over here. I need my straggler to be here because this has to be sewn to the other side of the body. So I only need to back out just a couple of stitches to have it over here on the side. So that's where I want you to fasten off, is where your where you need your piece to be. Actually, I could go over one more, fasten off. So wherever you need your straggler sewing piece to be. So I've got now one on this side for my arm, and one with my straggler on this side for my other arm. So now I know that both my thumbs are going to be pointing out on the right side of the body. So just stuff this. So I'm going to put up the pattern for the second arm for you to make. That way it's done before we start the legs. Just make sure that you stuff them to be the same, girth around when you make your second one. So go ahead and make your second arm, and then I'll meet you back to make the legs. The reason I want you to make your second arm now and not at the end of the video is because we're not going to be able to fasten off that second leg that we make. So your arms might as well just be complete. So I'll see you after you're done your second arm. So we're going to start with black, because that's the color of her boots. And we're going to start with a chain 8. We are going to be working in the round to make the boot, but we're starting with the chain. So chain 8. I want you to do 4 single crochets. And now I want you to do 2 half doubles. So in this last stitch, I don't want my yarn to split. I want you to put 6 half double crochets. Oh, this yarn is beautiful stuff, but it splits and you get stuck on all this glittery stuff. Do you see how it's curving around as you go? That's my 6th half double. Now see how it's curved around? That's what I mean by working in the round. So once you pull your slip knot closed, now you're going to work on this side of the chain. And that's what I mean by working in the round. So if you can manage to weave your straggler in as you go, just make sure you're getting, I know it's black, it's hard to see. Just make sure you're getting into the stitch right next to the slip knot. So you're going to do 2 half doubles, just like you did on the other side. We're just repeating the same thing we did on the other side. And 4 singles. So I am going to have you use a stitch marker here for the next round, because I want you to be able to keep up okay with what our counts are going to be in, where I'm putting my stitches. So this last stitch is our number 4 stitch. So you can cut this guy off if you waved him in, because he's a pain in the bum. So this is what you should have. I know it's probably hard to see on my camera. So go into the first stitch and put your stitch marker in there. For your next round, I want you to do 1 single crochet increase 2 times. Just make sure you're not going to go into the same stitch. You're going to pop over because it gets elongated. So 1 single crochet increase. That's 1 time. One single crochet increase. That's 2 times. And now I want you to do 1 half double crochet increase 2 times. So that's 1 half double and then an increase of 2 half doubles in the same space. That's 1 time. There's another half double and then 2 half doubles. That's 2 times. And now in the next 3 stitches, I want you to do 2 half doubles in each of the next 3 stitches. And then I want you to do 2 half doubles in this stitch in the same space, and then 1 half double in the next stitch. And then I want you to do 2 half doubles in the next stitch. And then the next stitch I want you to do 2 singles. And then 1 single. And then this last stitch I want you to put 2 single crochets in this last space. So we did everything the exact same way, we just did it backwards going down this way. So this is what you should have, so start of your boot. So next round is 1 single crochet in what should be 28 stitches. So this is what you should have. You can kind of flip it around if you want to. So we're going to start decreasing. So we're going to do 9 single crochets. That's my 9 single crochets. And now I'm going to do 2 single crochet decrease 3 times. That's 1 and 2. And my decrease is invisible. That's 1 time. Two decrease 2 times. That's 2 decrease 3 times. And then 7 single crochets back to your marker. So that'll give you 25 stitches. Your next round, you're going to start with 8 single crochets. There's 8 single crochets. And now we're going to do 2 single crochet decrease 3 times again. And then 5 single crochets back to your marker. Oh, I'm stuck on something. That's my 5 single crochet the hard way. So you should have 22 stitches. This is what it should look like. A little boat. So for round 6, we're going to do 7 single crochets. That's my 7 single crochets. And I'm going to do the same thing, 2 single crochet decrease 3 times. And you should have 3 single crochets back to your marker. And a total of 19 stitches. So last decrease, we're going to do 10 single crochets. That's my 10 single crochets. And then I'm going to do SC 4 tog. That means the next 4 stitches I'm going to crochet together. That's what 2 tog means, is together. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to go into my second stitch, pull up a loop. My third stitch, pull up a loop. And my fourth stitch, pull up a loop. So you should have 5 loops on. The 4 that you pulled up and the one that was already on there. You're going to yarn over and pull through all of those. And then you're going to have 5 single crochets back to your marker. There we go. So for the next 5 rows, you should have 16 stitches. For the next 5 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. And don't forget to stuff. And I will see you on the other side, because we're going to be changing to the skin. So we're going to change the skin color after your 5 rows. So don't finish your last stitch with black. So this is what you should have. This is your little booty. So I'm on my last stitch. I'm going to finish that with my peach color, my skin color. So whatever skin color you're using. Let your black off. So we're gonna build with our skin color, but we are putting little underwears on her, so we're gonna finish with white. So it doesn't matter. So initially I had put back loops only, but then I didn't do it because it doesn't matter. For the most part, you're not even gonna see any of this. Like, her dress goes all the way down. So to make it look like boots, you can do back loops if you're gonna come around and put an edging on this. But because her dress comes down so low, I actually didn't bother putting the edging. But that was my whole idea when I designed it, was I put an edge on this to make it look like an actual boot. So this is your option. If at this point you want to do that, that's fine. But again, nobody's probably going to see it. No one's going to see her underwear either, but I put underwear on her. So it's completely up to you what you do. This one here, I have all my front loops showing. So the idea behind that, before we continue, so what I did here was pick up the front loop that we're going to leave exposed. And you can make a decision based on what you see, whether you want to do it or not. So once you attach, go in and pull up a loop. Pull it way up. And you're going to twist it and finish the single crochet. So this is called a twisted single crochet. And this is going to, working in the front loops that we leave exposed here, just make sure you're pulling up on this part as well. So both pieces have to be pulled up and then finished. This yarn, though, with all the glitter and gold, kind of sucks for doing it because it's tight. When you get stuck on that glitter, but it will make it look like a boot. and not just the skin. So I've done it in other videos before, and it's been a pretty good look. But for the most part, no one's probably going to see. I will finish this after. I just wanted to do a little bit to show you that it puts that around it, so it looks like that's your boot. So in this next round, you can make the decision to use your back loops only, to leave those front loops exposed so you can put what I just showed you around it. Or you can use the whole stitch. Depends on what you plan on doing with your project. I'm using the back loops only, and I'm going to just do 1 single crochet in each of these back loops. So that's all my back loops. So all my front loops are exposed. So for the next 10 rows, using the full stitch, I just want you to put 1 single crochet. We still have 16 stitches. That hasn't changed. So 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches for the next 10 rows, and then we're going to switch to white. So this is my 10 rows. I have not finished my last stitch with my peach. I am going to finish it with white. Unless you don't want underwear on her, or it doesn't really matter to you, then you can just do 2 more rows of the peach. Doesn't make a difference, it's your project. I'm going to put little panties on her. No, women don't say panties. I don't know why I just said that. So off goes the peach. And for the next 2 rows, you're just going to do white. So, because this is my second leg, I am not going to fasten off. But if it's your first leg, then you're going to fasten off. But I'll meet you back after the 2 rows anyway. So that's my 2 rows of white. So this is what you should have. I haven't stuffed mine yet, but I am not fastening off, like I've said. I am going to protect my little loop so that nothing happens to it. I'm going to stay connected because when we come back, we're going to sew our legs together, and then we're going to finish crocheting. So just make sure that you stuff these to be the same. My foot's a little small, so I gotta put more stuffing in my foot and my stuff to make it the same size. But just make sure when you stuff them they're the same size. So I'm gonna put the leg pattern up to finish the chapter, and I will see you in chapter 2. Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 2. So I did my twisted single crochets all around my boots to make them boots. So this one we're gonna start the body. And we should be starting with white. So because my thing is on this side, this is the side I'm going to sew. So I used 5 stitches in my last one. So you can sew the feet together like this or like that or just normal. It's completely up to you. But I used 5 stitches to do it. So that's 4. And that's 5. So that kind of pulls my feet open a little bit like that. So once you've got your stitches, you can just go ahead and make a knot. Cut this off with a tail so you can kind of just tuck it down in the side of the leg. And then we can begin. So still using our white. We got to increase a little bit. Now she's not by any means fat, but we're going to do a 4 single crochet increase. So I did use my sew spots, so that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then my increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So I end up using 1 sew spot just so I didn't have a hole in my crotch to sew up, because that's not difficult or anything, it's just not something you want to do. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, and this will give you 35 stitches. Excuse me. So that's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, and then my increase, and repeat. For the next 3 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 35 stitches. So if you don't have 35 stitches and you need to have the same numbers as me, somewhere in this 3 rows you can increase or decrease to get the numbers that you want to have to match mine. So I'm on my last stitch. I did not finish it with my white. I'm going to finish that with my red. And just like in normal fashion. I'm going to tie my white and my red together so I don't have to weave. Because you will probably see the red through the white, but nobody's going to be looking up her skirt anyway. Well, hopefully. Hopefully no one's looking up her skirt, so you can cut off the red straggler and the white if you're doing it my way. And then for the next 3 rows, you're just going to do it in red. Same thing. 1 single crochet in each stitch. And don't worry about where your location of your color changes, because it's, like I said, no one's going to be looking up the skirt. I don't even know why I put underwear on her, but I thought it was fun. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease, and this is going to bring you back down to those 30 stitches. That's number 1. That is 5 single crochets. And I'm going to do invisible decreases, so I'm going to do them in the front loop. So I'm going to go into the front loop, and I'm going to pop around and pick up the next front loop. Then I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and finish the stitch. And repeat. So we can start stuffing this now. Make sure you're getting into the legs pretty good. Top part of those legs. If you want her to stand up. Mine stands up and sits down, because I didn't really overstuff. I just made sure it was strong enough for her to stand up on her own, but loose enough for her to sit down as well. So mine does pretty hoarse today. Mine does 2 different things. So we're the end of September, and my allergies are still acting up for some reason, so that's why I'm all hoarse today. I'm not sure why my allergies never go this far into fall. I guess we're not really that far, a couple weeks, but my allergies are usually gone by my birthday, which is September 26th. But they're still here. So I made her a little chunky, but not chunky, like not fat. But I want her dress to be able to look like it's poofed. I mean, if we build it kind of poofed out, but. So your next round is going to be in the back loops only, and it's kind of important not to bypass this step, because the front loops in this round is where we're going to start building the dress off of. So this round needs to be in the back loops, and it's just 1 single crochet in each of those back loops for 30 stitches. So that's all my back loops, so you can see all my front loops, this whole ridge around, and that's what we're going to be building the dress off of. So from here, for the next 9 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches, and then we're going to get the arms sewn on. So I will see you after your 9 rows is done. So this is what it should look like. So this is where I've done a little bit of stuffing in here, but this is where we sew our arms on. So as you remember, I had you make sure that you had each side facing the same way so that your arms, the thumbs are pointing out. So This is how we're going to sew them on. And right now I know it seems like the arms are long, but once we get the skirt on and the apron on and everything looks like it's the right size. So, you just need to find a happy medium spot here. I used 4 stitches on each side to do my arms. If that helps, but you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, I used 4 stitches. So I might have to move my marker spot here. I'm not sure. Not sure yet. But it's okay. Moving your marker spot does not change your numbers. I don't know if I can get it to stand straight. Not really, I guess. So, I'm just gonna throw my stuff down there. So hopefully my arms are even. And that's what you should have. So far so good. So now we're going to start decreasing to bring her chest in a little bit. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1. Eventually we're going to have to move this marker around to the back. That's number 1. I'm going to use my sew space just so there's no gaps. So that's number 2. And then my increase is just going to be a regular increase, just to keep it all nice and tight. So you're going to do that all the way around. So that's mine all the way around. I initially wrote down 36 stitches, but I have an extra stitch here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a decrease here on my marker point. I want to move my marker around to the back anyway, so I'm not going to really worry about what my numbers are at right now, but I wanted to have 36 and I ended up with 37 stitches. So somewhere I did something different from my last doll, but that's okay. Like I said before, numbers are not a big deal because it still looks like a body with arms, so it's not going to be a big issue. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. Now I'm going to start mine with a decrease because, like I just said, I have an extra stitch, so I'm just going to alleviate that extra stitch. So that's 1 single crochet and then your decrease all the way around. I'm going to go back to my invisible decreases. So, I'm moving my marker because after this next row I'm changing to white and I don't want to do it at the front of my project. So this is not going to change your counts, but I just want this to be at the back. So I'll make this my first stitch. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. Just make sure you're at the back. because we're going to change to white after this for a couple of rows, and then we're going to go to the skin color. So everything you want to have the changes done at the back. So that's number 1. That is 3 single crochets and then a decrease. This should bring you down to 20 stitches. So on my last stitch, I'm going to finish it with white. I am not going back to red. So, red we can get rid of. You should have 20 stitches. I'm gonna I'm gonna stuff mine. I'm gonna make a stitch, but then I'm gonna stuff mine. So right now you should have 20 stitches. In the, oh, that should have been in the back loop. Sorry. In the back loop, because I want to use the front loops for her cuff, her neck cuff of her dress. I put little frillies, and I'll show you. So on her dress I put these little frillies on those front loops that I exposed. Now if you don't want this, then you don't have to do it. I want it, so I'm going to do it. So let's put some stuffing in the shoulders and body. Almost lost my loop. We are building the head on, so you don't need to worry about stuffing it right up to the neck. But I'm going to put wire in my neck. So you don't have to do this if you don't have the wire to do it. Or if you just decided you didn't want to do it, but with all of her hair, her neck is a little wobbly, so I'm going to put this wire in. So I'm going to put that on the screen right now, just so you know what I'm talking about. So that's the wire. So anyway, make sure your shoulders are a little stuffed, but I wouldn't go football on her like she's not a quarterback. But make sure they are a little stuffed. We're gonna have an apron all tied around here anyway, but and I kind of came out a bit in her chest area just to, you know, she's a woman. I can't tell you why because I'm not allowed to say it, but you know why. A little busty. So in the back loops only, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Should have 20 stitches. Or whatever stitches you have. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, not the back loop, the full stitch. And on your last stitch, we're going back to the skin color. So this is my last stitch. I'm going to finish it with my skin color. gonna do all the tying business. So with our skin color, this is when we start building the head. So we're going to get aggressive. We should have 20 stitches, or whatever amount of stitches you have. We're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I will end up with 40. So 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. So that's what my 40 stitches looks like. So for the next 10 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 40 stitches, and then we're going to add the eyes, and then we'll close up the head, and that'll be the end of chapter 2. So I'm only halfway done, but I want to show you this wire and how I do it. Putting wire into the head. Oh, I'm stuck on the package. I'll zoom out a little bit. So to cut this, you actually, all you need is big scissors. And I know it looks like it's probably difficult, but it's not. This is craft wire. The picture that I put up is from Amazon, but I'm quite sure you can get the same gauge probably at any craft store. I don't know if it's a hardware item. So anyway, you can measure using your doll. Like my head's probably going to be up to here by the time I'm done. So depending on how deep you want this to go, then you just kind of gotta use your scissors to kind of score it, and then it'll just break off. You go back and forth a couple of times, it just breaks off. So it is easy peasy to work with, even though it looks like it's really thick. I mean, it is thick, but it is super duper easy because it is craft wire. It's not wire. Like, it's not hardware wire, it's craft wire. So that's the difference. So just make sure that you're going to a craft store to buy it and not a hardware store to buy it. So because these two ends can be pokey, and it doesn't matter if this thing is straight, it's just to make the neck not so wobbly. So I just take some electrical tape to cover the ends with, because I think it's just safer that way. But this is just my preference, obviously. It's not going to be everybody's preference, and that's fine. But if you were interested in what I do, just make sure it overhangs the edge. I'm not even on camera half the time. Anyway, if you were interested, then it's fabulous. Those of you who aren't, you don't need to attack me in the comments. You just need to move on, not worry about it. Anyway, so you just need to stick it down into the stuffing. But I need it to stick out a bit, so. And then I just put the stuffing around it, and the stuffing is all in here as well. So I got 5 more rows of my head to do, and then I'll see you right back here. So it's time to do the eyes. Now I can buy cases of these safety eyes for, you know, pretty decent, $12, $13. $15, maybe around there. That's Canadian, so it's going to be cheaper for you. For Americans, it's cheaper. All the different colors and different sizes. These here that I'm using today, let me show you. I'm going to use green. I used blue on my last one, so I'm going to use green. These are 14 millimeter eyes, but I don't have 14 millimeter backs, so I'm going to use 12 millimeter backs because they still work. I just can't make them as tight. So I put my eyes third row down from the top. So 1, 2, and 3. Try to line them up with your legs. And just make sure you're staying in the same row. I did 5 visible stitches in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I gotta move this guy over 1. So 5 visible stitches in between. It's hard when the head's not stuffed yet. I think I gotta move him over. And then I gotta move him over. Yeah, that looks better. So, I'm going to put my backs on. And then we can start to stuff our head. We're going to close it up after this. So, we're going to start closing it up. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. And this should bring you down to 32 stitches, all depending on what stitches you have currently. I have 40, so that's number 1. That is 3 single crochets, and then I'm doing my invisible front loops decrease and repeat. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 32 stitches. Next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and this will take you down to 24 stitches. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your decrease, and repeat. So your last round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 16 stitches. And this is where we cinched our head, was at 16 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet and then your decrease. And repeat. So that's about it. You can fasten off, and then make sure you're stuffing this fully before we cinch it closed. So you just need a cinching tail and a weaving tail. So make sure it's full. Doesn't have to be overstuffed, but at least up and underneath here. So once you have it fully stuffed, you're going to go in the front loop and out the front loop, just like that, all the way around to cinch it. So in the front loop, out the front loop. once you're all the way around, and then you pull. So there's going to be hair on this, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. I'm going to open mine up a little bit and put a little more stuffing in there because it's a little wrinkly. But there's going to be hair on this. And I did a wig cap as well, so. But I still just want to make sure that I've got enough to sew into on the top. So once you pull it closed, you're just going to pop across the center and make a knot. And then I pop across the other way because that doesn't exactly completely close my hole. And give it a wiggle. So this is what it should look like on the top. It doesn't really matter because we're doing a wig cap and hair. So, and then you can just weave in and out, back and forth. Make sure your head stays round. So that is it. The rest of the stuff that we have to do is going to be the face, obviously, the collar, the dress, and then the apron that goes with it. And then the wig cap and all the hair. Sorry, my stomach's growling in case you just heard that. And then the wig cap and all the hair is what we have left to do. And that will be done in chapter 3. So I will see you guys in chapter 3. Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 3. So you should have a whole entire body. I forgot to mention before we left that maybe you could do this. Anyway, you can do it whenever. Let's do the face before we really move on to anything else. So get some of your peach. We're just going to make the nose. I don't know how long. However, I guess big you want your nose. Mine's fairly long because I figured I can just cut off what I don't use, right? I also want to use some to bring the eyes closer together. So, doesn't matter where you go in, just matters where you pop out. We're just jumping right into this, so figure out a good spot for your nose to be. Don't pull all the way through. And then I basically just, let me flip you around here. It's hard to do on camera. I basically just went in even as I could. So you kind of got to guide it a little bit where your stuff's going, but you know. And pull a little bit. You can make your nose as big or as small as you want to. Doesn't really matter. So it's all up to you. I think that's probably good for me. So I'm going to come up here next to the eye. Kind of want to pull everything together. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go down right in the next stitch right beside it. And I'm going to pop over here and do the same thing. So it should just look like a stitch. You should never really see it. Sorry, I had to sneeze. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. Now I'm just popping out wherever. So once you have those two, you can pull, and it should make a bump. You should be able to gather that up like that and make a little bit of a bump, which then therefore kind of makes the nose. And you bring your face together a little bit. Like that. And then, sorry, it's just my allergies again. And then I like to just meet up with where I started, just so nothing happens to this. I'm going to tie it in a double knot, a tight double knot. Cut it off with nubbies and poke it down. So that's what I did with that. And then my lips, I'm going to need red. So get a bit of red. What I did with my lips, these are my lips, is I made the shape and then I looped around to fill them out. But if you don't want to go through that much work, then, you know, you don't have to. So again, it doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you pop out. So, depending on what kind of mouth you want, I'm gonna come up here for a minute. And I'm gonna grab, just so she has lips, these different kind of lips. And I'm just gonna grab a little piece of the I'm just trying to shape the lips a bit. And then I'm going to come down, I don't know where. Trying to keep it even in the same row. It might be a little short. And then wherever you want your mouth, that we can pull through. That's no big deal. So, I'm going to get a mouth like that. And then I like to just pop up here in the corner. We can start. And then I just start wrapping. So I'm just going around the bottom piece, basically wrapping the bottom lip. I know it's hard to see with my hand in the way, but I kinda gotta guide the yarn. And so every once in a while I like to grab a piece of the peach from underneath, just like a little hair, especially in certain parts, so that I can pull it down, so then the mouth kind of just stays where I want it to stay, and nobody will see that I pulled on that little piece. And then you just go around the lips. So, this all depends on how tight you want to pull it. Like, it's completely up to you. And that's how I did my lips. So, but you can do whatever you want. It's completely up to you. So I'm just going to come down out the same hole like I did with my other stuff. I'm going to make a double knot. Cut it off and poke it down. And there's her little face. So we've got the eyes pulled in to make the nose look a little, make the nose look like a, it's hard to see. My lights are really bright. So we can attach here. We're just moving down this guy. These are all your front loops that we left exposed, so we could put this white frilly around. So let's do that next. You can use whatever hook you want to use. I'm just going to stick with my 4.5. So make a slip knot. And then I would suggest reattaching at the back. You know, where your color changes. So you got the two different heights back here because we work in a spiral. So just reattach. In each stitch, you're going to do 2 single crochets, chain 1, 1 single crochet, all in the same stitch. So even though I just attached, I'm still going to do, this for this starter stitch, because I attached, I'm going to do 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. This is quite difficult. You can skip one, or you can do every single one. I'm gonna skip one, and I'm gonna do, so this is the actual starting one. So 2 single crochets, chain 1, 1 single crochet, skip 1, 2 single crochets. This is all in the same space. Chain 1, 1 single crochet, skip 1, two single crochets, chain 1, 1 single crochet. So continue all the way around. If you don't want to skip one, you don't have to skip one. There we go. So when I got back around, I did 2 together here instead of skipping one, and then I went into my thing. I thought I was filming, but my camera wasn't on. I tied the 2 pieces together and I weaved. And then I noticed my camera wasn't on, so. Anyway, there's the frills around the neck. You can see your own. So, let's do the dress because it's big. That's the elephant in the room right now. Alrighty. So, let's turn our gal upside down. We're going to build this upside down. So, find where your jog is in your front loops from around 10 of the body pattern and attach. So you can attach any way you want to. A single crochet, slip stitch, doesn't matter. This round is just simply going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So her head should be by your body. We're doing it upside down. So 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So I am all the way back around. This is a little bit of a jog here. So I put an extra stitch in there before I come across and start again. So I'm not going in to this spot because that's just my reattach spot. That tightens down with when I pull. I'm going to start in on the first stitch. So you're going to have an extra stitch if you do what I do. It just kind of makes it look better. You can just stretch across, but then you're going to look like you have an elongated stitch in there. Your next round's going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So you can put a marker here. Not that you're going to have this to let you know, but you know. That's 1 single crochet with my marker. So my next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So I am all the way back around. I have 45 stitches. This is the extra stitch that I put in to make this jog look better in the first row. I'm not using him in the second row. I'm going to pop across and start in my marker. The reason being is because now I'm closer. Because of my increase, now I look closer and I feel closer and I am closer. But you can do whatever you want. If you want to use the stitch, knock your socks off. It's not going to make much of a difference. Aesthetically, I just needed it to look decent, but I don't want the extra stitch. I don't want to count the extra stitch, so I just popped right over it. My stitch does not look elongated. It looks like a normal size stitch now, and aesthetically, it looks a lot better. Aesthetics is the only reason I did it. So that's number 1. That's number 2. And then you're going to do an increase. This is going to be your next round. 2 single crochet increase. All the way around. And this should give you 60 stitches. So your last increase round before we go, before we go to just our straight rows, will be 3 single crochets and an increase. So it's number 1, it's number 2, and number 3, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. This will bring it up to 75 stitches, and that's as far as we go. So this is what you should have, a little tutu looking thing. For the next 15 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 75 stitches, and then we're going to change to white. So I will see you on the other side. So that is my 15 rows. In this last stitch is where I'm going to change to white. So I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to change to my white. And with my white, I'm going to do 3 rows, and then I'll meet you back here after the 3 rows, and we'll put the little frilly edge on. And then that's probably going to be the end of this chapter, because, well, the dress has taken up a lot of this chapter, so Another 3 rows with your white, and I'll meet you back for the frillies, and then that'll be the end. So I'm all the way back around, and I wish I hadn't started at the front of my dress. That's where my jog is, but I don't think anyone's really going to notice. So the frill that I put on this dress is 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, all in the same space. Skip 1. Next one, 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, skip 1. So that's what I did. And you're probably thinking, well, that doesn't look like much. And you know what? You're right, it doesn't, but at the end of the day, it's a little bit of frill on the bottom of your dress. So it goes pretty fast. No, I didn't do something right here. You don't have to skip one either. So that's what it does. It's a little bit of a frill. If you don't skip one, it will roll up like this. This is what it looks like. So if you want it to look like that, then don't skip one. But if you want it to look like this, then I would skip one. It's completely up to you. My last doll I didn't, so this one I'm going to skip one. So I am back around. I'm just going to go into the next stitch and fasten off. So, just to give you a perspective, skipping one stitch, and I wrote this in the PDF. PDF users, you'll see, it'll say, skip one in between for casual frill, which is this. That's just my casual frill. Skip 0 spaces for really frilly, and that's this, really frilly around. So, that's what that says in the PDF. So we just need to weave, and then that'll be the end of this chapter, which I'm pretty sure is chapter 3. Get lost in my chapters sometimes. So the last chapter will just be don't forget about this guy. The last chapter will be the apron and all the hair and the wig cap, and then we will be done. And then, you know, all the fancy little ribbons and buttons that I put on the apron. We'll go through that, and then we'll be done. Our Mrs. Claus, and if you are watching this video, I have done Mr. Claus or Santa Claus. So Santa Claus goes up first, Mrs. Claus goes up second as far as videos. So if you're watching Mrs. Claus, then Mr. Claus, Santa Claus, is already up for the video. So that's the end of the chapter. So I'll see you in the final chapter. Hi guys, welcome back to the final chapter where we're going to do the apron, the wig cap, and the hair. Let's just jump right into this. So we're going to start with the apron because that's the biggest thing. And we're going to start with a slip knot. We're going to chain 29 and then we're going to do 28 single crochets back up. So that's my 29 chains. So we have 28 working chains because your 29th one is still on the hook. So just do 28 single crochets all the way back up. Turn my light down because I'm using white. So this is my 28 single crochets. I'm going to chain one and turn up my work. So in the first stitch, I want you to put 2 single crochets. I want you to skip one, and in the next stitch, put 2 single crochets. Skip one, 2 single crochets. In the same space, skip one, 2 single crochets. So continue doing this all the way across. Once you're done your last 2 double crochets, you're going to skip one, but then in this last stitch, the turning over stitch, you're just going to put 1 single crochet, chain one, and turn your work. So, alright, my camera died, so, or no, my camera didn't die, my card filled up, so I had to switch it. So for round 4, PDF users, you're going to see it written as SC2 tog, and that means just a decrease. So we're going to start decreasing the first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches, and then we're going to keep with this 2 single crochet in the same space, skip one pattern. We're going to do this for a few rows. So decrease these first 2, SC2 tog. Then you're going to skip one and do 2 single crochets. And you're going to repeat that pattern till you get down to 2 stitches at the end. Well, technically 3 stitches at the end. So skip one, 2 single crochets. Skip one, 2 single crochets. Skip one, 2 single crochets. I'd already done this, but my camera didn't tell me that it wasn't filming. The card was full. It doesn't beep at me, it drives me nuts. So I already filmed all this, but I didn't film it. My camera was off. So I have to do it all over again. So skip one, 2 single crochets in the same space. So skip one. We have to decrease the last 2 stitches. So if you turn it over, you'll see I have 4 stitches. I'm going to skip one and do 2 single crochets. But I'm going to fill this last stitch. I'm not going to skip it. I'm going to put a single crochet in there, and then I'm going to decrease these last 2 stitches. Just so it doesn't look spacey. That's really the only reason I did that. So we're going to do that for another row. So we'll decrease these first 2. Skip one, 2 single crochets in the same space. Skip one, 2 single crochets. Skip one, 2 single crochets. So continue the skip one, 2 single crochets all the way across. So you can't do it anymore. So I've got 3 stitches left. I'm going to do 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to decrease. Chain 1, turn your work. So it should be coming in and still keeping with the same pattern that we started with. So the reason why, PDF users, I show row 5 and 6 is what we just did for 2 rows. The reason I show 7 to 9, the next 3 rows differently, is because instead of that 1 single crochet at the end, we're going to just skip that last stitch. It'll be a different shape. Other than that, we're doing the same thing. So we start with a decrease, skip 1, 2 single crochets. Skip 1, 2 single crochets all the way across. So this is the look you should have at the moment. So for the next 5 rows, we're just going to go back to our regular scheduled pattern. So start with skipping the first stitch and go into this one and do 2 single crochets. The reason we skip the first stitch is to kind of keep this on this bit of an angle. Skip 1, 2 single crochets. So I'm right at the end again. I'm not going to put 2 single crochets on the end because that'll just be an increase, and I don't want to increase. So I'm just going to skip 1 and put 1 single crochet in there. Chain 1 and turn my work. So you're going to repeat this pattern. Just don't put 2 single crochets at the end. Just always put 1 single crochet, because there's no point increasing if we've come this far with our decreases. So 4 more rows to go. I will see you on the other side. So we're going to decrease these first 2 stitches. We're going to do 9 single crochets, and then we're going to decrease the last 2 stitches. That's my 9 single crochets, and then I'm going to decrease my last 2, making sure to get under both pieces at the end. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to put frills. We're going to do, so just find a hole. We're on the raw side, there's no stitches, just find a hole. We're going to do 5 single crochets in that first hole. So you get something like that. Fan, bit of a fan stitch. And then you're going to go into the next space you can find, and you're going to slip stitch. I know I just slip stitched backwards. And in the next hole that you feel like going into, there's no rules. You're going to do 5 single crochets. And whatever next hole you want to go into, you can go into and slip stitch. And we're just going to do that all the way along. So that you get this along down the side and around. So once we get to the bottom, it's going to be a little bit different. So continue with your sides. So I'm on the bottom. So that's going to be round 17 for PDF users. Now on the bottom, stitches are going to be 5 single crochets, because we have stitches to work into. So we're going to form the bottom with our fan stitch. We're going to skip one and we're going to do our slip stitch this way. And then we're going to skip one and start our fan stitch again. So 5 single crochets in the same space. We're going to skip one, do our slip stitch, skip one, and start our fan stitch again. I'm going to try to weave in my tail as I go. So we can skip one, which is going to be that right there where the knot is, and go into this next one. So we're kind of on the raw side, and we're going to do our fan stitch. That's my 5 single crochets in that space. So now round 18, we're going up the side the exact same way we went down this side. So you got to try to match 4 little scalloped edges, because we just did this one on the corner to match this side, and now we have to match these. So do your best, but don't forget, after your fan you got to find a hole to slip stitch into, and then you can do your fan stitch. So just trying to kind of make it even. So my last one was kind of right up here. So I'm all the way around. So this is what you should have. So we're not going to chain one and turn or anything. We're going to SC2 tog. So starting in a stitch right next door, we're going to decrease. We're going to do 9 single crochets. And we're going to decrease. Now we're getting into this fan stitch. Chain 1. And now we're going to turn. So we got into this fan stitch a little bit. And now we're going to decrease again. SC2 tog. We're going to do 8 single crochets across. And then we're going to SC2 tog. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to SC2 tog. We're going to do 6 single crochets across. And we're going to single crochet the last 2 together. Decrease. Chain 1, turn your work. So you should have 8 stitches for the next 4 rows. You're going to put 1 single crochet. We're not doing this pattern anymore. This is starting the top of the bib, and the bib is just a regular crochet. We're not going to do this pattern. So you're just doing 1 single crochet in each of these 8 stitches for the next 4 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 4 rows. You can fasten off. We're going to reattach to do the ties. So I just want you to weave. We're going to reattach for neck and the waist, just above these scallops, or even in the scallops a little bit. You can do the ties for that, and then obviously these corners we're gonna do the ties for the neck, but it'd be easier to figure out where we have to do the waist ties once we do the neck ties. So I reattached at the top corner. With a single crochet, and I chained 20. That's my 20. So leaving the option to tie gives you the option of how far down you want the bib. I didn't want to make it without giving an option. You can put your apron as high or as low as you want. So these are options. So my last one I put right up to her neck, but I don't think I want to do that with this one. I think that's good exactly where it is there. So I'm just going to tie this in a double knot. So I'm not cutting off anywhere that I've crocheted, but I am going to cut off these long nubbies. So she's going to be left with this tie if you want to tie it in a bow or whatever. And then that kind of, you know, she's got a bit of a top part. So I think for my waist, yeah, I'm about the middle of my scallop, reattaching from my waist. And again, I'm just going to chain 20 because I know that takes me around to the back. So you can cinch this fairly tight because, you know, women had skinny little waists back then and these puffy dresses. So I'm going to cut these off just a little bit, but I'm going to just do a bow and leave it hanging. So that's my apron. So, I decorated my last apron by just cutting some ribbon and gluing, taking 2 buttons and gluing the ribbon in between, and then just gluing that on there. And I think I'm going to do the same thing with this gal. So I'm going to put up the thing for my ribbons on the screen now. So this is the ribbon that I just showed you. It says it's satin, and I actually thought it was paper, but it is satin. Now that I'm touching it, it is satin, and it says Merry Christmas on it. So they come in green and in red, and that's why I chose to pick one. So I'll put the buttons up. And these are the bag of buttons that I just had on the string. So all kinds of different things that you can pick. These little buttons here that have, oh, where's my camera? These little buttons here that have little decorations on them. Might be easier to see if I actually took them out. But here's an idea of a stocking, decorated up stocking, so you can pick the stockings, which maybe this time I'll do stockings. They all come in different, oh, where's it? It's hard to find the camera. They all come in different things. And then maybe I'll take these buttons just to do something different for this gal, because I always end up with two projects. So there's these buttons there that I'm going to use. So I just used glue, obviously. So I just kind of put a couple of stockings on here and put my ribbon and all that, but everything keeps dying. My camera keeps dying. So anyway, my camera kept dying, but my battery's now changed. Anyway, I mess around with decorating the apron later, if, you know, whatever. Let's move on to the wig cap. So with our white, because our hair is going to be white. If your hair's not going to be white for Mrs. Claus, first of all, what are you doing with your life? Second of all, it should be white. But if it's not, whatever hair color you're picking for your Mrs. Claus, that's the color your wig cap should be made in. My hair's going to be white. So we're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after your first stitch, that's when your stitch marker goes in there. And then stitch number 2 in that same space. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around gives you 12 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. This will bring it up to 18 stitches. As 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 24 stitches. It's 1 single crochet, that's 2 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 36 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase. So 2 single crochets, maybe, in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. And this will bring it up to 42 stitches. And that's as high as we're going. Unless you stuffed your head really big and you need it bigger, then you can keep making it bigger. That's 5 single crochets and then you increase. And repeat. So this is what you should have. For the next 5 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 42 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what your 5 rows should look like. You can fast it off. You need a long sewing tail. So set it on her head however you want it. So you can have it as close to the eyes as you want, but I am swooping everything up from the back, so I'm going to have it more like that because I'm swooping everything up into a bun. So this guy just needs to get sewn on. So you can put it into place if you want, just so it doesn't move around on you. The pins I use look like this, and they're called wig pins because they hold pretty good. So I don't really need to do anything with this. Maybe make it shorter, because I am doing hair, so I don't really need to get rid of that. It'll just be part of the hair. And then the hair, so I'm gonna find something to wrap the hair around. I think I'm just gonna take my little sewing kit, and I'm just gonna wrap the hair around that. Get some big scissors, and you're just gonna cut. So you're gonna have pieces, obviously, that you're not gonna be too short. And you want it long because you want to be able to make the bun. We're going to start at the back. because we pull everything up into a bun here. So I want to start at the back, just putting the hair on, and then moving around to the front, because you don't need to actually fill every spot. Like, we don't need to have a whole bunch of hair weighing our neck down, especially if you didn't use a wire. You got to really watch how much hair you put here, because it'll make your neck flop if you didn't use the wire like I did. So anyway, you're going to fold that in half. It doesn't have to be exactly in half. And you're just going to find a hole. You're going to pull it through, and then pull it through the loop that you make. And that's how we're going to put the hair on. So I'm just going to stick in one more just because I have an extra one little piece. So I did not put any up here. I just put it all around because I'm doing a bun. But if you're not doing a bun, then you'll probably have to put some up here. I'm going to pull a couple of strands down that I want to just kind of keep out. So I just kind of want to keep these strands out. And then I'm going to pull it all up. So I don't want my bun to be like right at the top of my head. So, you know, style it like you're styling your own hair. I got a rubber band. Of course, we wouldn't put that in our own hair, but so again, like your own hair, so you're going to pull this out a bit so it's not, you know, tight. We're just going to make a making a ponytail. And then we're going to cut it. So make sure it's tight because you don't want to see the elastic. And then I'm going to pull some of this out like we would do our normal hair, you know, like when we put our hair up. We kind of pull some hair back so it's a little poofy, not so tight. So you can do that all the way around. So you got some poofy. So just like we're doing our regular hair. And then I'm going to get the bag out of my garbage bag. And then we take the rest, and this is where we kind of make it a pom-pom. We're going to start cutting. So the shorter you go, the fluffier it'll be. So by the time we get down to the bun size, this is just us making our bun. When we get down to our bun size, it should be pretty fluffy. I mean, mine was nice looking. Not on my other guy. Not really fluffy, but or fuzzy or anything, but so you just cut until your bun's the size you need it to be. So there's my bun. I'm a little granny. That's my little bun. And I mean, you can do yours as low as you want, or as, you know. As far as these guys that I pulled out, I am going to untwist them. So, once I pull all these stragglers out, then I just cut them. And they're just that. They're just these little stragglers. I know it's hard to see. They're just these little stragglers along Granny's So you can either leave them like that, or you can pull them out and have them like that. Use some hairspray. Kind of tame them a little bit. So it's completely up to you what you want to do. All done. So it's hard to fit her all in, but thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus. I'll see you in the next video. Merry Christmas, guys.